In the United States, the system of government is built on clear rules and limits. At the top of this system is the president, who leads the country. However, this power is not endless. The nation's founders were very careful about creating a system where no single person could hold power for too long. They wanted to avoid a monarchy, where a king or queen rules for life. This idea of limited power is a cornerstone of American democracy. It ensures that the government remains accountable to the people who elect its leaders, preventing the concentration of authority in one individual's hands over many decades. The rule for how long a person can serve as president is written directly into the U.S. Constitution. Specifically, the 22nd Amendment sets a firm limit. This amendment was added to the Constitution in 1951, following the presidency of Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was elected to 4 terms. The amendment states that no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. This language is very direct. It means that after serving 2 terms, a person is no longer eligible to be elected to the presidency again, creating a mandatory rotation of power at the nation's highest level. This 2-term limit is a fundamental safeguard for the democratic process. It ensures that the American people have regular opportunities to choose a new leader with fresh ideas and perspectives. As of today, October 16, 2025, Donald Trump is serving his 2nd term as president. Because he has already been elected twice, the 22nd Amendment directly prohibits him from being elected to the office a 3rd time. This constitutional barrier is not just a tradition, it is a binding law that has governed the presidency for over 70 years, and it applies to every person who holds the office, regardless of their popularity or political party. Changing this rule would be an incredibly difficult process. It would require a constitutional amendment, which is a rare and monumental task in American politics. To pass an amendment, it must be approved by a 2/3 majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. After that, it must be ratified, or approved, by 3/4 of the states, which means 38 out of 50 state legislatures would have to agree. Given the current political division in the country, achieving such widespread agreement to extend presidential power is considered by most political experts to be virtually impossible. Despite the clear constitutional ban on being elected a 3rd time, there has been a lot of discussion about potential ways to get around this rule. These are often called loopholes or end runs. The most frequently discussed idea involves the vice presidency. In this scenario, Donald Trump could run for vice president in 2028 on a ticket with a loyal political ally. If that ticket were to win the election, the newly elected president could then resign from office almost immediately. According to the rules of presidential succession, the vice president would then automatically become the new president, effectively sidestepping the 2-term election limit. However, this vice president strategy faces a significant legal obstacle found in the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. This amendment states that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president. Legal experts are sharply divided on what this means. Some argue that being ineligible for president only refers to the original requirements like age and citizenship. Others, however, insist that it also includes the 2-term limit from the 22nd Amendment. They believe if you cannot be elected president, you also cannot be vice president. This disagreement means any attempt to use this path would undoubtedly lead to a major legal battle. The final decision on such a constitutional question would almost certainly fall to the Supreme Court. The court would have to interpret the precise meaning of the 12th and 22nd Amendments and how they interact. With the current conservative majority on the court, the outcome of such a case is difficult to predict. Supporters of the idea might hope for a favorable ruling, while opponents would argue it violates the spirit and letter of the law. This uncertainty adds a layer of high-stakes drama to the entire conversation, as the court's decision could reshape the future of the American presidency. Other, more far-fetched ideas have also been floated, though they are considered even less likely to succeed. For example, some have suggested that Trump could become the Speaker of the House. According to the Presidential Succession Act, the Speaker is second in line to the presidency after the Vice President. If both the President and Vice President were to leave office, the Speaker would ascend to the presidency. This would require an extraordinary and coordinated series of events. Most experts and even many politicians from both parties have dismissed these ideas as legally dubious and politically unworkable attempts to undermine constitutional norms. Imagining a United States where a president could serve for life requires us to think about a fundamental shift in the country's political identity. If a president never had to leave office, the nature of elections would change dramatically. Presidential campaigns would no longer be about choosing a new direction for the country every 4 or 8 years. Instead, they might become more like referendums on the single, permanent leader. The focus of our political energy would shift from debating new ideas and candidates to either supporting or opposing the forever president, potentially deepening the political divisions that already exist in the country. The balance of power, a key principle of the U.S. government, would likely be severely disrupted. A president for life would accumulate an immense amount of personal power over time. They would have the ability to appoint hundreds of federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, and fill key government positions with loyal followers over decades. This could lead to the other branches of government like Congress and the courts, becoming weaker and less willing to challenge the executive branch. The system of checks and balances, designed to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful, could slowly erode under the weight of a permanent presidency. For the daily lives of citizens, the effects might be felt gradually but profoundly. A government led by the same person for decades could become less responsive to the changing needs and desires of the population. New challenges, whether economic, social, or technological, might be addressed with old solutions that no longer work. The administration's policies on everything from healthcare and education to foreign relations would become entrenched. This lack of change could lead to public frustration and a sense that the government is no longer listening to the people it is supposed to serve, fostering a climate of political stagnation. Furthermore, a presidency for life could transform the very culture of American politics. It might encourage a cult of personality around the leader, where loyalty to the individual becomes more important than loyalty to the Constitution or the country itself. Government institutions could become tools to reward allies and punish opponents rather than serving the public impartially. This kind of environment could stifle dissent and free speech, as people might become fearful of criticizing a leader who holds permanent power. The vibrant and often loud debate that defines American democracy could be replaced by a quieter, more compliant political landscape. The principle of presidential term limits is more than just a rule. It is a core protection for American democracy. The founders of the nation were deeply suspicious of concentrated power. They had just fought a war to free themselves from a king, and they were determined not to create a new one. Term limits ensure a peaceful and regular transfer of power, which is one of the hallmarks of a stable and healthy republic. This process forces the nation to look forward, to embrace change, and to reaffirm that ultimate authority rests not with any one leader, but with the people who vote for them. By guaranteeing that presidents must eventually step down, term limits encourage new leadership and fresh ideas. A new president brings a different perspective, a new team of advisors, and a different set of priorities to Washington. This rotation helps the government stay dynamic and responsive to the evolving challenges facing the country. It prevents political stagnation, where a single leader's ideology could dominate for generations, and ensures that the government can adapt over time. This infusion of new energy is vital for a country as diverse and complex as the United States, keeping the political system from becoming stale or out of touch. Moreover, the two-term limit reinforces the idea that the presidency is an office of public service, not a position of personal ownership. It reminds every president that their time in the White House is temporary and that they are stewards of a public trust. This knowledge encourages accountability. A president who knows their time is limited is more likely to be concerned with their legacy and how history will judge their actions. They are governing for the future of the country, not just to maintain their own power. This helps to guard against the potential for corruption and the abuse of authority that can come with indefinite rule. In conclusion, the debate over presidential term limits goes to the very heart of what America is supposed to be. While the scenarios for getting around the 22nd Amendment are intriguing to discuss, they are rejected by most legal and political experts as a threat to the constitutional order. The limits on presidential power are not a weakness of the system. They are its greatest strength. They protect the nation from the dangers of authoritarianism, ensure that the government remains accountable to the people, and preserve the democratic ideals that the country was founded upon. For these reasons, the two-term limit remains a crucial pillar of the American Republic.